And we are back with another episode of a podcast, of course. Today's guest is aRLo, another FGC TikToker. He has been making waves with doing the Blaze Blue Central Fiction Tournament and making a bunch of content. We had a really good conversation, and I hope you enjoy. So, aRLosandy, welcome. Welcome to the podcast, of course. I'm so happy that you were able to join me today. So, as I ask every single person that joins this podcast, I always ask the same question: how and why did you choose TikTok to become a content creator?
So I was kind of focusing on YouTube at the time, and I just followed. I was part of the Sharpie wave, and then we're all kind of under Floki's umbrella in his Discord and stuff like that. So we got started with the Sharpie wave, and now we're going with the flow. Um, so it's been great that way. Honestly, it was more of a novelty than anything at the start. Like I was just looking to do YouTube stuff and wasn't getting much traction, and I was just looking for other avenues. And I saw the space, and I'd missed the first one, and people were just raving about it in the replies to Sharpie, and it's like, man, this was so good. I learned so much. I'm definitely getting on TikTok. Like, and other people were like, wait, I missed it. What did you talk about? And she's like, well, we'll do one more. I'm like, okay, I'm scheduling it, I'm making it, and I'm gonna learn about this. And I just ended up taking some notes about what she said. I'm like, this fits a lot of what I want to do. And then she held a second one where I asked like a question about music and using parody songs, which is something I still want to do. I tried to do a project recently and it didn't pan out. Turns out parody songs are a lot harder than I thought.
Uh huh.
Like even seeing ones that are like really basic on YouTube, I'm like, "Oh, I could do that." Nah, I can't.
Mm-hmm.
Not yet. But it's just something I wanted to try. I knew it existed and I hadn't really used it before, so getting on and interacting with the community has been even better than I expected. So it was just kind of a new thing on the block, and I'm like, what the heck? It seemed more approachable than YouTube, also. Like, just where it was a new thing. YouTube is very entrenched. Like, you kind of know what works and everything, and trying to scale that mountain was kind of scary. And
Mm-hmm.
TikTok, I'm like, I'll jump in and try. Like, no harm, no foul.
Yeah. I had, I guess maybe I was lucky when I first started doing TikTok because I'm gonna be honest, it could have went downhill for me really quick. Like it could have went really bad. But my first couple videos did quite well because the idea I had, I just didn't want to put them on YouTube because they were too
Right.
short. So I was like,
Mm-hmm.
I only give it a shot on TikTok. Why not? Because my roommate was making them, and I've had quite a lot of success. I know a lot of people have been on here for just as long, if not longer than me, and have not. Um,
Right.
Maybe I just got lucky with the algorithm with certain stuff, but it's I don't know, man. I don't know what else. Also, fighting game content is super niche, so like getting
Mm-hmm.
those people to follow you to begin with is a challenge. So,
Right. Right.
um, what since you've started, have you felt at all that like you made the right decision to come over here?
Oh, 100%.
Okay.
Like, even if I wasn't getting like a great response, like I've never had like a platform like so kind of my like I started out on YouTube like my last year of high school, and I did like a ukulele cover that got like a decent amount of views of an AJR song. It got like over 10,000. So I have like 300 subs on YouTube, but they're all from that. So I don't get that kind of interaction on
Mm-hmm.
YouTube, which is still small by all means.
Yeah.
But so having a platform of like 280-ish followers and everything that's been built, just I didn't tell any of my family or friends or anything like that. I just started ground zero. I'm like, we're gonna make videos. If it grows, it grows. If it doesn't, whatever. Like having that response and people being interested and following me for just the stuff that I'm interested in making has been really, really cool. But even if I didn't have that, just interacting with other content creators like Floki, Aclay1788, who's from Australia, it's
Mm-hmm.
mind blowing that I can interact with someone from Australia about this shared passion. It's one of
Clay's
the
good
coolest things, one
stuff.
of my
Clay's
favorites.
good stuff. Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's just that community interaction is worth it by itself, in my opinion, even if I didn't have growth occurring. But like it's just motivating that people like my stuff and are interested in me that I want to keep making great stuff, you know?
Mm-hmm. So, is there a certain like trend or certain style that you've done so far since you've made videos that you feel you can expand on? Like, since you started, is there certain videos like, I could do something way more with this if I keep on doing more videos in the same style? Like a series
The
of
next
such.
avenue I want to tackle is, and I kind of did it and it got a good response. I did that kind of Smash response video where the guy was like, Smash professionals are bad at the game because they don't play with items. And I'm like, this, bro,
That
no.
guy.
Um, I want to
That was a
do.
field day for everybody.
He was fight back, fight back. Everyone was just jumping him. I'm like, this has to be bait, but like it's good bait. I'll bite. But I think like video essay stuff like that because I studied English and everything, so doing a lot of that deep reading and then kind of turning my knowledge into something that's presentable and engaging is something I'm really interested in. And video essays are some of my favorite content, and I want to pursue that. I've been drafting up ideas and everything. Um, Probably the next one that I want to start work on is just about the single player content situation with fighting games, but that's for another day. But I also have um, things where I compare fighting games to everything else because I think the standards that we judge fighting games by about them being like so hard for all of these reasons. You have to learn combos, you have to do all this stuff. I'm like, that's just everything, man. Like
Mhm.
I had to do that in sports. Like you have to like if you look at tennis and say you have to learn how to hit with topspin, hit 3 different serves, you have to know how to hit a slice to play defensively to even start playing tennis. No one would play it, but that's not how you start tennis. You just go in there and whack the fuzzy yellow ball and have a whale of a time. Fighting
Mhm.
games, just jump in, start pressing buttons, have a whale of a time. Like
Mhm.
it's a lot of weird comparisons, so I want to like I have some ideas for a tennis comparison video and a rock climbing video because I think rock climbing has a lot of interesting concepts that you can derive from fighting games. And I need
This
to
is the
talk to.
second time in a podcast I've had this conversation.
I was gonna say I need to watch the episode with Pinto. I saw
I
you
just posted
upload
it
that.
before we started.
I saw you
Yeah.
upload it. I'm like, yo, I need to see what Pinto's saying. So I
Yeah.
want to talk to him more, so I can bounce ideas off of, see if he wants to be involved at all. But like, I'm telling you, if I can pull this off, you'll see the comparisons.
Okay. No, I'm excited. If you can, that actually could be a series by itself, comparing
Right, right.
anything. That's a great thing. Like, I expect to see that from you now.
Right, because
Congratulations,
like
you gave yourself homework. All right, I can't wait to see it.
it's the fun homework though. I
Yeah,
get to
yeah,
talk about fighting
exactly.
games and other hobbies I like.
All right, so you said you did YouTube. Is that where you started doing content, or have you bounced around
Yeah,
doing stuff for a while now? Like, when did you start?
just mainly YouTube, but that was more like a side thing. I started and I wanted to try to be more consistent, but like the more I did like ukulele stuff and everything, like or like just music type of stuff, I really wanted to kind of grow a platform doing like cover songs and everything, but like the more I did that, the less passionate I felt about it, and I'm like, oh, this just isn't hitting for me. So I wanted to give like original songwriting a try, but turns out writing songs is also very hard, and I don't think I'm that kind of creative. I'm not like the idea generator in that way in terms of like writing poetic songs or generating melodies and everything. I just don't think it's my forte. Maybe in the future if I keep working at it, but for now it's definitely not a focus.
Mhm.
But that was like the idea of me starting like content creation is to do music stuff and everything. But once those kind of fizzled out, that energy, I just kind of let it lay by the wayside. And I got into fighting games because of Smash Ultimate and found a lot of the content creators through that and everything. So I started watching a lot of like Maximilian, a lot of the Panda Global guys, and all that. Like it's just something that like fighting games, if I'm being real, fit a lot of my really like deep interests and like passions as a person. Like they feel like I just really like super powered stuff or like flashy hype stuff like superheroes, anime, that kind of thing. But you also have like stories that have like feel good moments like Guilty Gear where the characters like matter and stuff like that and they're different personalities, but you also have like incredible music and storytelling through that music.
Mhm.
And you also have the competitive element where you're trying to improve yourself and use the tools at your disposal. Like it just fits so many of my passions, and I'm so glad that I found like it and something that can fit that well.
Mhm. So I gotta ask about the ukulele.
Yeah.
So was that just something that you just bumped into? Like how did the ukulele thing?
I was into 21 Pilots, and
Okay.
they had the ukulele and everything, and I'm like, I want to learn how to play ukulele. I played piano before, so
I can see the keyboard.
I picked up ukulele and everything to learn a second instrument, and I don't play it as much anymore. Piano's kind of my main instrument. It's just it fits the push buttons, go burr, like it satisfies that dopamine hit in my monkey brain just of slapping buttons. But I tried to learn guitar and everything too. That's one I someday want to put more time into because guitars just seems so cool. Like such a smooth instrument, and you can have like electric guitar, so many variations.
So have you always been kind of musically inclined, or?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I only started playing piano in like 6th grade so around like when I was like 10 or 11ish. But I always like listening to music and everything. Like it's just like listening in for like the deeper like harmonies and stuff like that. And especially like now I love anything involved with like music theory. Like just learning why songs tick and like all the background stuff that makes them work is so fascinating to me. And that's something I want to talk about with fighting game music because I think it's some of the most interesting stuff out there because character themes are so important for fighting games because you have to tell a story without really having the story framework around them. Like I can have if I look at a game like Nier or Nier Automata, you can kind of develop your story because you've had all the cutscenes and all like the extended dialogue of the story leading up to these moments, and you just have to fit that backdrop. Fighting games, you're having a character theme playing in the background of just a random fight on a stage that might not even be tied to either of the characters, and you have to figure out a way to tell that character's story and their personality. And the way that they do that is very interesting, especially in the like Guilty Gear. I have some drafts up for Kai's theme and for Ramlethal's theme in Strive because I think those are two of the most impressive storytelling songs in all of Guilty Gear. It's actually mind-blowing, and I don't see people talking about it enough. KI is another one that does really well in this regard.
I was just going to say KI. It was actually in my Discord today. We were discussing who's your favorite character music.
Right.
To me, Aganos. I can hear it right now in my head. Love it so much. Love that character.
Dude, listening to Hold Back to Blocks, like, documentary on just, like, the music and the sounds, that's, like, my niche of, like, music and fighting games and, like, telling the stories. I'm like, inject this into my veins. This is so good. But one of my favorites is Herald of Gargos. Herald of Gargos is incredible. It tells so much about the story of like Jago, Shadow Jago, and Omen like all together, while also being like this meta story of like Mick Gordon's time on Killer Instinct as he's leaving it, and I just like it's such a masterpiece, and I don't see people talking about it enough. Like he's rightfully known for Doom.
It's not just music, but I think it's just everything in fighting games are like completely overlooked. It's always overlooked in certain things. Like the skill level is a great example. People always overlook the skill level of what it takes to play like high level fighting games.
It's combo spamming.
Yeah, no, it's not. Like if you take any pro player from like Fortnite or Call of Duty and that you bring them over here, they will give up in a week. Like it's completely different. Same thing with arts.
I think that works. I think that works in the inverse too. Like there's a lot more under the hood of like professional like Fortnite and like Call of Duty.
I'm gonna be honest, I love Fortnite, but I hate the building. So like at that level, I'm like, nope, not my
right. But I mean, like that's one of the optimization things. Like you throw in a new player into Fortnite and they see building like that, it's like, what?
Yeah, but they still can jump into battle royale and have a chance because at the end of the day, it's pew 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 pew. You know what I mean? Like you still need to learn how to block in a fighting game. You need like the defensive aspect is something that not other video games really do. Being defensive is something that a lot of video games do nowadays. So Dark Souls not included, but like for them
an active defense. I understand what you're saying. Like defense is like a secondary thought. Like people think like defensively is like evading and stuff like that, but like blocking is very much like a state of existence in fighting games, and that is such a foreign and almost scary idea to a lot of new players is what I've seen.
Like I'm trying to think of like the new Pokemon game that just came out, Arceus. Like you have to like dodge, you have to like roll away from like certain attacks and stuff, but like to me that's like it's not hard. Like, you know exactly where to go. But in fighting games, there's not only you have to do the blocking, you have to like predict where he's going to attack you. Is he going low? Is he going high? Is he going mid? Like, you got to like predict all that stuff. So it's I think people give fighting games a bad rap when there's way more to them than I think anyone will ever realize. Music,
right.
Even graphics, like what ArcSys does in their games, like people don't like, you just see a 2D model. No one realizes. Some people. The fact that those are 3D models. Yeah, go ahead.
Right. Can I level with you?
Yeah.
My fear is that ArcSys comes to the realization that they could be making a gazillion times more dollars making some anime adaptation in 3D and be the people that finally do it right rather than making fighting games. Like, I'm like, dude, ArcSys, just keep making fighting games. I love you guys, but like...
I'm going to delete that from the podcast. We don't need people to hear that.
Yeah, don't... I am 100% fine with that. Don't put that knowledge into the world.
All right, now that you say that, like, we'll speak of this for a second. We barely talked about fighting games of what your favorites are and stuff, but I need to ask this question. What anime would you like to see Arc System take over as a fighting game?
There's a lot. Okay. I've been reading the Bleach manga.
Give me three you would want.
So Bleach is one of them. Even though I'm only at the start of it, I think their character designs just look really, really cool. And it's one of those like entrenched franchises that is very interesting. So that's probably pick number 3. Pick number 2. Oh man. I would say My Hero. Just because you have so many different characters and quirks and everything, and seeing how you could develop character play styles around that would be really, really cool and fun for me. Plus, it's just such a popular IP. Like, I'm not mind blown by My Hero, but I think it's good. Like, it's just good fun and everything. My top pick, Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood. Okay. Like, oh my god.
Those are all solid picks, yeah.
FMA. Like, the characters, like, I watch the fights in that. Like, I'll just go back and watch some of the fights, and I'm just like, man, what I would give to play as freaking Wrath, dual wielding swords in a fighting game. Like, oh goodness.
I can imagine that would be, that would probably blow up the internet. That'd be one of those games that would just like, because when Dragon Ball I don't think people realized until like the game was coming out with Dragon Ball FighterZ how big that was going to be. Because FighterZ was gargantuan, was absolutely gargantuan, and it's nice to see like it get the reception it deserved afterwards.
Oh, for sure.
Like when it went to Evo, it was huge how big that game was.
It stayed massive too.
It's still
like,
in
fighters.
The only thing missing out is rollback netcode. That's the only thing it needs. That's the only thing it needs. Rivals of Ethers just got it. Just saying, Rivals just got it.
Yes,
like
I love Rivals.
That's an indie developer. That's an indie developer who was able to figure it out. But a AAA company can't do it. Thanks, Bandai Namco.
I said those words to my friend, like literally almost word for word. We're playing Smash Ultimate. We live in the same state, 5 hours away from each other, and the connection is just absolute dog water. I'm like, bro, I can play Them's Fightin' Herds, which all love to TFH. It is an incredible game. But I'm like, this game was made by 20 or less people, and it is based on My Little Pony. Like, that is its origin.
Yep.
And somehow it can figure out how to do rollback netcode and get the budget for it. But somehow Smash Ultimate, the best-selling fighting game of all time, cannot. Like, and people defend it. I'm like, man, just say it sucks. Like, don't cape for this multi-trillion-dollar company, man.
Yeah. It's quite obvious. There's a couple things I want to point out. Like, Capcom is the kind of exception here. Now, Capcom definitely has their issues with their netcode as well. But it's not as bad. But Bandai Namco and Nintendo, like the Japanese developers, like
the final holdout.
It's like for some reason there's they're gonna, if they don't have it, the next generation, like the next gen of those games, so Tekken 8, Street Fighter 6, Smash Riot, or whatever they're gonna call the next one, if they have another one. If they don't have rollback netcode, I will genuinely be flabbergasted. Like, like
it's just such a no-brainer.
Yeah, like there was zero reason for the last gen to at least not implement it afterwards, right?
Right.
Like Melee has better netcode through a mod than Smash Ultimate does, and it has what is it up to? It's like 24 million units sold. It's like some crazy number right now with Smash.
Right.
It just blows my mind. But let's get off the topic here. Let's move back.
Right.
This is about you today, aRLo. So let's ask
Hey.
you some questions. Give me your fighting game origin story. What was your first fighting game up to now? Let's hear it out.
So I thought that my first one was like Smash Ultimate, but then I remember that my family had a Sega Genesis, and I'm like, I guess I've just always kind of liked fighting games and stuff like that. So we had like this old Power Rangers game, not like the Power Rangers where Ivan Ooze was like busted, but it was a different one. But it was like I would just play the arcade mode over and over and over again. It was a blast, and me and my friend played Smash Brothers Brawl a ton, just really casually. But getting back into fighting games like in 2019 is kind of when I started this whole thing. It was Smash Ultimate. I had a bunch of roommates, and we would just every Sunday sit down on the couch when we all finished our homework, and we'd just all play 5-person Smash, or like we'd challenge each other, and it was just a good time. Like, so once we all like, so I started with Palutena at the time, and then I switched to ZSS. But
what?
After, yeah,
you went down a couple tiers there, but okay.
Oh, but she's so fun.
I think she's higher tier now, but
yeah. But so after we all like moved out, I'm like, well, I freaking loved Smash Ultimate, so I bought a Switch and I started playing that, and that was around the time like Joker got released, so he was already released when I bought it.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that was, I think, the Terry reveal, and I just like seeing him and then everyone like losing it. I'm like, I have no idea who this is. And then I watched like the Sakurai Presents and like talking about like his history. I'm like,
yep.
This character is sick as hell. What the like? And seeing all of his moves like Buster Wolf, like all this, I was like, man, I can't wait to play this character. And I picked it, like, so I got the DLC pass and, like, picked up Terry the day he came out. And I'm like, and this is, like, I think it's funny seeing the motion input discussion because legit, I think motion inputs are what got me into fighting games. Like, so when people are like, they're too hard, they push people away from fighting games. I'm like, they got me into it. I had a blast doing all of Terry's quarter circles and stuff. Like,
they're not even fun. That hard. That's another thing. I just don't understand that argument. I never get it. Like, don't get me wrong. There are some people that like need simpleness. I get it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there are certain occasions when I'm trying to do a combo, I may mess up a half circle. That's gonna happen. But quarter circles are not hard. I don't care what it's literally like. Maybe like the Z inputs for Dragon Punches can be confusing too, but even that after it's muscle memory. Like the same, I know this is a kind of a gross thing. The same natural reaction where you sit down to go to the bathroom. You don't look behind you while you sit down, right? When you go take a poop.
Right.
You don't look back there anymore. It's just natural. You sit down. You know you're not gonna fall in the wrong spot. It's a natural reaction. It's muscle memory. So like you just gotta practice it. That's it. You just gotta practice. And people don't want to do that. But continue talking about your games.
Yeah, no worries. But like I totally agree. Like it's like muscle memory. But like I had fun with it, and I thought he was cool. So I didn't end up getting into KOF from that, ironically, even though Terry is like legit probably my like top 2, if not my favorite fighting game character, because he's what got me into this genre that I've fallen in love with. But I knew about Moment 37, like just like everyone does, and I'm like, I want to get into traditional fighters because like motion inputs are cool, these characters are cool, and I know about Third Strike, so I got Anniversary Collection and just played the arcade a bunch, and I'm like, well, yeah, this is fun, but I can't really play actual people in this because I didn't know about Fightcade, and I didn't, like, no one was on Anniversary Collection to play online. No. Like, it's just not worth it. So I was just looking for another fighting game, and that's when I stumbled on Goichi versus Leffen in DBFZ, and I had no clue what was happening with all of this tag fighter nonsense going on the screen. I just saw cool Dragon Ball stuff happening, explosions everywhere, and Yipes screaming his ass off in the background to all of this stuff happening, and I'm like, I'm playing that. It looks cool. People get hype. And so, like, I just ended up picking it up and everything, and after that, there's a video where it's talking, and you've probably seen it. It's massive, but it talks about like the animation of Arc System Works in Dragon Ball and Guilty Gear Xrd. And I'm like, I have never heard of Guilty Gear Xrd. What is this? So I looked up stuff, found the instant kills, maybe clicked on the instant kill video because Baiken is sitting on the front with her thangs thangin'. But
Yeah, good
I
old
ended up watching that. I'm
biking.
like, hey, but like I was like amazed by like how unique these characters were, and like a lot of games were like what got me interested in fighting games. Xrd is what has like Guilty Gear and like that series in general is what's kept me in. I love Guilty Gear. I love the characters. I love like the music. Just so much of the creative vision behind it is incredible. And I'm like, I tried other characters like because I'm like I don't want to play Baiken just because I thought she looked hot or like because I think she looks cool as a samurai or whatever. So I tried like Kai for a bit, Answer and Xrd, and I'm like, no, this Baiken fits. Like she's fun. I love her in plus R and everything. All the guard cancels are super fun, and her combos are like the kind of execution that I look for. And Guilty Gear is just so special. And I've just branched out into all sorts of fighting games from there because I'm like, I'm part of this now,
Yeah,
and I don't think I'm leaving anytime soon,
that's
if
good.
ever.
That's awesome. All right, so what would you consider is your fighting game?
My fighting game, Guilty Gear, like I said, but
Is
like,
there a certain one or Strive or?
uh, like I love Strive. Don't get me wrong, but like it changes some things that I really, really loved about like OG Guilty Gear. I I haven't had as much of a chance to play Xrd like in person as I wish I did. So probably just the one I'm most experienced with and have like the most time is Plus R. Plus R is just like that kind of craziness and like a lot of like really free and everything. You can do like tech setups. Biken can run like unblockables on you. You can put someone in a counter hit state with her curses and just tatami them in the corner over and over again. It's like the Wild West of fighting games where everyone is just carrying around like 16 shotguns that they're going to blast you with at a moment's notice, and you just have to be ready.
Yeah, I love the. What's the word I'm looking for? I love all the. Is it called Is it overdrives? What's their super moves called in Guilty Gear?
Oh,
I just call all of them
overdrives are
supers.
Blaze Blue.
Yeah, I call
Right,
I call
that's,
everything
yeah.
supers. It's easier, but
Mhm.
May's super in XR just kills me. Actually, anything May does kills me because that character
He's a
doesn't make
funny
sense.
character.
That
Right.
character as a whole just doesn't make sense in Guilty Gear, but
I
it
love
works.
it.
Yeah. Hayden, thank you so much for that sub. I appreciate that. So if that's your fighting game, what are some of your other games that you enjoy? Not fighting games.
So I actually want to do like some, and this is going to be way, way down the line once I have something more consistent built up. But I want to do like some video essays on some of my favorite games,
Sure.
and then like one on the FGC as a whole. It'll be like a 3-part series. But Horizon Zero Dawn, and I'm very excited for Forbidden West to come out. But Horizon Zero Dawn means a lot to me because like it came out at a time in my life where I was like trying to figure out what the heck I was doing, and like it really showed me like a really different look at the world, like that you can just find beauty in everything. And I think it's one of those things like it's actually takes place in like the area that I'm from. So like it's just seeing something that like I'm familiar with that's like normal, like I kind of overlook it, but seeing people like painstakingly and lovingly render it in these beautiful graphics and just bring as much beauty out of it as I can. I'm like, I have been missing so much by not looking at it for what it is. So like that game just changed so much of how I like viewed the world.
Yeah, I am quite excited for Forbidden West as well. I have actually haven't beaten Zero Dawn yet. Now, with that said,
oh, you're in for a treat.
I enjoyed every bit that I played. It's just one of those games that like I will start playing and then something comes up and I like only get like a 5-hour game session in, and it's one of those games I need to like have everything done and wake up the next morning and just can play. It needs to be one of those situations because I felt the same way because I was so stressed out. I needed to get all of my content done for like 3 days so I could sit down and enjoy playing Resident Evil Village last year. I gotta do that. I like looking forward. I gotta do it again with Pokemon Arceus. I gotta do it with Forbidden West and Zero Dawn still. But yeah, super good game. I'm actually on board with you. I absolutely love Horizon from what I played so far. Also, Aloy, I was like this close. I just was assuming she was gonna be in Smash. I actually was on the board. I thought Aloy was.
I would have been floored.
Dude,
I would have been so
I was
floored.
convinced.
I love her.
I
She's such
convinced
a good
myself
character.
that she was going to be in too. I was literally convinced that she was going to be in it.
I was
too.
hoping for 2B in Smash because that's like my other non-fighting game that I really love. I really love the Nier series. It hits a lot of like the musical stuff that I look for, a lot of the character stuff. It's another one that's like really, really important to me for a lot of like reasons that aren't gaming related. It like its story about like kind of losing like belief systems, your kind of like entire worldview and structure. Like in the case of 9S and seeing like what happens after that and where you need to go. Like that came at a time when I really, really needed it. So Nier Automata means so much to me. And that's like those are video essays I want to talk about in the future. But like that's like I said, down the line.
Well, down the line when you're officially done with them, please send them to me. I'd love to listen to them.
Heck yeah, heck yeah.
So this is a fighting game podcast. What are some things you love about fighting games?
Oh, I mean,
give me two things you just love about fighting games.
Two things I love about fighting games. I mean, this might be like a little bit of a cop out, but like I made a TikTok earlier talking about my experience with the T3 tournament that happened this week on Sunday. But I talked about how the most important thing is for the FGC is the C, which stands for community. And like just I've interacted with a lot of like groups and stuff like that because I've done sports, I've done like music, so interacted with people online about that and everything. I don't know if I've ever encountered a group that is as passionate, as creative and hardworking as just the FGC. Because you kind of mentioned, we don't get the attention that other genres get. We don't get the funding that others get. We don't get the media coverage that others get. So we're kind of doing this by ourselves. Like, it's honestly, like, looking at fighting games, it's amazing that the genre is still, like, going after 30 plus years of, like, since Street Fighter 2 and having, like, Capcom Dark Ages or, like, lulls in sales, dealing with developers not having good online features. And I think that speaks to the passion of the community, that they care about tournaments, about getting better at a shared passion, about the creativity involved in creating fighting games and building that experience for players. Like there's just something special, and I don't think you can even define it about the community when it comes to fighting games.
Like we have our own dictionary. You know what I mean? Like the glossary, like coming into this community, think about how many words you've learned over the last couple of years.
Right. Yeah. Right. That is such an undertaking. But like Infill, like making not just the most incredible KI guide, but then following that up and being a part of the glossary, which I still need to donate some money and everything. I've been meaning to do that. I've been like looking for ways that I can
Max is like, I feel like Max, every time he looks at it, he throws a couple extra bucks in there every single time he looks at it.
As we all should. We all should. But like Infill's also involved with a lot of like the stuff that Sajam does, like for Will It Kill and stuff like that. Like the man just doesn't stop because like there's this passion. Like we all care about like making great stuff for the community. And so like just knowing that like people are doing that because they care, not because it's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna make a bazillion Fortnite bucks doing all this stuff. I'm like, that's the scene I want to be a part of, where people care because they care, not because of getting exposure, like all of this stuff. Because if we all wanted to get the most exposure, like you could just jump onto literally almost any other genre. Become a Minecraft YouTuber. That'll be way easier than freaking fighting games. Like
that is true.
Like, you see it with Panda. Like the owner of that made a tweet a while back where other esports organizations would always ask him like, why are you sticking with fighting games? The amount of work that you're doing, if you were doing other genres and working in other spheres, you would be way more successful. He's like, because I care and believe in what we can do with Smash and with fighting games. And that, like, from a top organization, like, I know people have their gripes with Panda's content, but like knowing the thought process behind stuff like that, where they're like, we want to make this work and we want to get people into fighting games and everything, whether it's through media, through excellent tournament showings and everything, like they're doing awesome stuff because one person at the top wanted to create an organization that worked better for esports in fighting games than others that had failed, and he's trying to adapt and do different stuff. So Panda, like, I think they're doing so much cool stuff. in my opinion.
So
Like
you're on
people
team,
can get
you're pro Team Panda.
to a degree. I think
Okay.
a lot of their stuff, like a lot of the clickbait, a lot of like the really like just
I'm not gonna
basic
say
tier
anything
list
live.
stuff.
I'll talk to you after my opinions on this.
But yeah,
yeah,
it's
no,
like
they
I
definitely do
understand
more.
it's not my content. It's not what I would do.
Yeah.
But like I don't think there's anything wrong by any means.
Well, it
Like,
gets
as long
views.
as you're trying to be honest.
You know what I mean? Like, there's a reason
Right.
people love tier lists.
If you
Like-
get like, in my opinion, if you're getting people into fighting games through that stuff, like I think you always need to have that entry into something. And if it's because people are familiar with tier lists,
Yeah.
and so they see Akuma is triple, quadruple, times 3 S tier, PogChamp ? And they get interested in fighting games from that video, heck yeah.
I feel
Like, that's
people watch those because they're always curious about their main, and that's the main reason,
Right,
the
right.
driving force. So like, there's no way they're like a purposely like putting the most popular characters in the middle of the video for extra views. There's no way that's true, but like I definitely feel like the algorithm loves tier lists on YouTube,
Right,
TikTok,
right.
wherever. People just love it because you're connecting with the person with what character they love. And that's always
Right.
that's another reason people love top 10s, because you're always kind of, people watch all the way through a top 10 because they're kind of hoping
I think
what they like is also on yours.
Yeah, I think like the way that I like my philosophy on that kind of thing is you need to have a purpose behind doing those kinds of things, because if your only purpose is just to rank so people can see your rankings, then that's not engaging or interesting content for me. And maybe that's just my thoughts on it, but I hope that tier lists, like, and it's been getting better, I feel like tier lists or top 10s are used more as like a discussion bouncing point to discuss like what makes things strong. My struggle is when like the tier lists get thrown on like Twitter and stuff like that without context, and people like, there's no way you could put this character here, and people just argue about like nothing. I'm like, but you need to understand like what was going into the ranking process. Like I put this character in A tier instead of other people putting them in C tier because in theory they have like really long normals and they could go into these extended pressure strings if your execution's on point. I don't think people have optimized that. Like that's like what I think tier lists are interesting for as a discussion point, but I think that gets lost with the stigma that they've gotten.
Well, people
over
also
recent
get
years.
angry because their character gets put lower, of course. But I've always seen
Or
tier
higher.
lists, especially if like this is why it always drives me crazy when I see someone like what was an example? Like let's talk about Esam. Pikachu's the number one character in Smash, right? That's his character. He's obviously going to go first. So every character below him is going to be slightly biased, right? Like,
Right.
no matter what. The thing is,
I hate Pikachu.
yeah, who doesn't? Esam, when he's doing a video, at least for him, Esam is one of the top 20 players in the world. Like he's just that good at the game. Of course, his tier list is fun to look at, but the thing is, his tier list is wrong to you. You're looking at that tier list for the wrong reasons, not because of I want to play the best character. That tier list is being used by at the highest level. Right. This is where you should play a character. Yeah, at the highest level, the best player in the world should pick Pikachu because they're the best usage, because that's the most a pro player can get out of those characters. Right. Me, average Joe over here, I should be looking at a different tier list entirely.
Right.
Like, because
Little Mac could be entirely broken to a bunch of people that have never played Smash before. He can KO off of one punch. Are you serious?
Yeah. Like, it's a completely different ball game. But because he's a pro and people have respect for him, that's where Esam we're talking about here.
There's been some controversy. I'm not going to get into that either.
There's the whole issue there, but when Esam's talking about a tier list, he has a right to talk about it because he's at that skill level. But if I'm looking at a tier list for Esam, I'm not I have the maturity to look at it and like, okay, at the highest level, this is what you're gonna be able to do. That's why I usually always play mid tiers, because they're basic. Like, they're easier to understand. They don't have a lot of tricks to them. Like, I'm a me gunner main in Smash as an example.
Hey,
like,
nice.
Kind of like low mid tier, right? Like, it's a bad character, but for me, it has all the tools I want, and I can get the most out of it with my skill level. And that's how I think tier levels are. Actually, I want to bring a question, because someone in chat actually said something that's kind of interesting. If you could create a character for any fighting game, what would it be? I'm gonna actually cut that question a little bit. I want you to answer that question for Guilty Gear.
Oh,
If you had the
if I
option,
could create
a character.
if I could create a character for Guilty Gear,
Yeah.
what would it be? Oh man, that is interesting because Guilty Gear is a game where you can have a guy that fights with pool balls and a pool stick, and a giant hippo man that's controlled like a mech, by a little wizard, like Leopoldon. Like it's such a wild series. So let's see. I'm a huge fan of samurai. So
There's already
let's
two of
see.
them. So
Oh, there's not enough. There's not enough still. Um, dude, I think. Yeah, have you seen Samurai Champloo?
Some, yes.
Okay, yeah. I think like a character like Mugen would be really cool. Kind of like a
Okay.
breakdance hip hop style, so they'd have that like that rock hip hop track and every. This is somebody called Daisuke. This idea is actually sick. I want
Okay.
Mugen, just straight up Mugen in freaking
So it
Mugen
never
from
was
Samurai
like
Champloo and Guilty Gear.
officially like confirmed. I think it was. I don't know. But the creator of Guilty Gear pretty much admitted that a lot of the characters were based off of some of his favorite rock bands. Right.
Right. Exactly.
So
Like Ride the Lightning, Kai's Super.
yeah,
That's a Metallica song.
yeah. Like one that I would love is I don't know. Are you familiar with the band Daft Punk?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I have this idea of like this like kind of techno character that can like can change his abilities depending on the color he is. So he just will completely, it's like a stance character essentially where he changes colors and he actually can deal damage depending on those colors. So like
Nah,
his
this is
lasers will
actually
change.
OD.
Like I thought, like based off of Daft Punk, that was my original
Daft
idea.
Punk, but it's Idol from Killer Instinct or
Kinda,
something
yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
something like that.
Oh my gosh, dude.
You want that now, right? You want that?
I want it. I want it so bad.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how bad I want that.
Super sick,
It's
super
so good.
All right, so let's go back to things you
Oh.
don't like about fighting games.
Probably. Maybe this is just like my gripes with like Smash Ultimate and like my one thing with Strive is like movement. Everything feels like a commitment. Like everything is built on like these specific burst ranges that I can run or cover with like air dashes and stuff like that compared to like older Guilty Gear where things were a little free, or like Smash 4 or Melee where I could basically dash dance like just by dashing back, not having to do Ultimate's thing where it's like you dash forward this much, you have to put your stick in neutral, dash back. So you're like kind of dash dancing, but it's on this like you have this space that you can dash, so you're dash dancing to here, to here, to here, to here. Or you're doing like dash canceling in Ultimate where it's like really fast, but like functionally you're not really doing much. You're not covering much space because you have such a marginal amount that you can dash. Like I go and play Rivals and I'm like, this just makes sense because I can cover as much space and then dash back when I want to, or wave dash or things like that. Kind of the same with Strive. Like air back dashes do not disengage you at all, like in Strive. So fundamentally, like adjusting to that, especially with Baiken, where backdash tatami is such a strong tool in Xrd and plus R, has been very interesting to say the least. So I think like movement is something that you need to make sure is always like crisp and everything for fighting games. And just a lot of fighting games seem to be built around like, and this I hadn't even realized like I had this thought or feeling, and I won't credit myself as the one that came up with this. That is completely Lord Knight. Like he talked about how fighting games like a lot of the time were built around like minus frames and stagger pressure and everything. So a lot of stuff isn't necessarily safe when you do a string. It's built around playing this guessing game of like, am I going to end the string here? So you go for a punish because I'm negative theoretically, or do I cancel into my frame trap option, or do I stop the pressure entirely and dash up and reset pressure and everything? Like it's this kind of negative pressure, but like it's the way it's gone isn't a way that I am crazy about, I guess.
Sure.
Like it's like if there was more mix up involved with like left rights or overheads and stuff like that, but everything seems to be built on being reactable and doing this stagger pressure to try and bait out a response, because you eventually have to take back your turn in a fighting game. So that's like the mind game that you're playing. But to me, that feels like I'm never the one opening up my opponent. It's them choosing to push a button and me frame trapping it or something along that line. Like, does that make sense? Or going for a throw or things like
No,
that.
I understand where you're coming from, and it's something I guess for me personally, when it comes to movement, I just every game's different, of course, but like
Right.
whatever game it is, when it comes to movement, it's the committal thing. You don't really have much of a choice. I guess this is more of you. Like I just like learned that like there's no way to get around it, and also you always have a reason to. How am I gonna word this? I'm not saying you do this, but like I blame my movement is part of the reason why I fail. Like I could have spaced that better.
No, I totally get you. It's completely a taste thing. Like some people probably look at the games that I like and are probably like, this is. Yeah. You can just disengage from anything. Like everything's plus. What the freak is happening? This is so dumb. Like, or like,
I'm immediately
like people get good at like people move so good in Ultimate. I can't. Like it just does not click with my brain for some reason. But I see like MK Leo move in Ultimate or Mars with ZSS, and I'm just like,
I swear they use different controllers sometimes.
I want to get to that point, but like something about the game just doesn't click for me.
Yeah.
Like that's just my taste, and I think that's the important thing. Like where I try not to make it like an objective thing where I'm like, yeah, these games are bad because the movement is awful and they're based around negative frames. Like that's just me. Like that's just my feelings and perceptions because a lot of people love those aspects of these games and they are not wrong for that. And I think like that's the important thing, to try different fighting games and find what works for you, because when I was starting to get out of Smash Ultimate, I was just kind of like throwing myself at the wall over and over and over and over again, and I was not having fun, and I couldn't put a finger on it. And then I played other fighting games, and I still couldn't figure out why. But as I like figured out what I liked in fighting games, I look back at Smash Ultimate, and I'm just like, yeah, that probably just was never going to be my type of game. It's just different.
Yeah, platform fighters in general is just there's like so many extra levels of understanding. It's
the fundamentals are crazy.
Yeah, like I remember just dropping Smash entirely. I had some of my own issues happen in the real world where I'm like, I hate Smash right now. I'm not doing anything with it. At Ultimate's apex.
It's right? Like that sometimes.
Like at the apex. Banjo just got announced. I'm like, I don't want anything to do with this fucking game. I hate it. Right?
Oh, no.
And I just went back to Injustice. And it was at the end of its season. It was about to finish. MK11 was already being promoted, and I was like, I'm just gonna play. And I could feel the difference. Like it felt like obviously slower and rigid, but like I just remember like the advantage of just being able to backdash. It was fixed.
It feels like home.
Yeah, it felt better. Like I know, it's like Ultimate was all over the place, and I went back to Injustice. It just felt good. You know what I mean? Home is a great way to word it.
You've got to find your fighting game home, like that soul food, like that meal that, like, when you are just feeling beaten and downtrodden by the world, what fighting game can you go to just to like be that chicken noodle soup that's just like, yeah, this is exactly what I needed.
I've mentioned this a bunch of times, but I have like that. I have that chicken noodle soup in a movie. Are you aware of what Kiki's Delivery Service is?
Oh, I've heard of it, the movie, but like I have not seen it. Studio Ghibli stuff is.
Yes,
I need to watch so much. I've only seen.
When you're sick next time, download it and watch it. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on because we're almost running out of time here. Competition history. From what you told me beforehand, not a lot, right?
Few to none. I've played like some locals in our like small town, so we have like a college there, so we would get like 30 to 40 people for Smash Ultimate. But there was like nothing for fighting games. So once I started like not being as interested in Smash Ultimate, I would basically just go 0-2 or 1-2 as fast as I could, so that I could go and try and get people to play Guilty Gear or Melty Blood or Street Fighter or whatever I was feeling that day, to just be like, come play fighting games. I'll teach you. I'll show you that they're not that crazy. You just need to worry about like, here's how to block. Here's how to do strike throw mix-ups. Here's an overhead that you should use. Here's a poke. Like, so that was like my competitive history there. So actually, like the BlazBlue, the T3 TikTok tournament was my first like official like fighting game tournament. I entered one that was put on by Serpent, the professional BlazBlue Kagura player. But like that was more of a warm up than anything. I'm like, I'm going to get washed, but it's just mostly to get my tournament nerves out and see how online events work. So I considered like T3 my first, and it was amazing. Like it was such a fun event, and seeing everyone that had like worked so hard to put on something really cool, having my intro that I made play at the start of the event was like I was
That was
just
a
so
good
honored.
intro, man. That was a great intro.
Thanks, thank you.
You're welcome.
I was really proud of it, and seeing everyone's like response to it was just I didn't expect it, honestly. Like I was expecting to like throw it up, and like I sent it to Floki the night we did the pre-show, and he's like, "Hey, Combo wants to open the show with this," and I'm like, "Okay, I won't say no." So I think just like I said, I tried to get people into fighting games to the point that I tried to start a local scene for fighting games.
Mm-hmm.
That the first time we held a Guilty Gear Strive tournament, we had 10 people, which was awesome. But after that, we had a Pokken tournament, which was basically me and a couple of like my closest friends and some of their friends. So we had like 6 people. We did a round robin bracket. And then I tried to host a like Halloween thing where it was like Killer Instinct, maybe Darkstalkers, and Melty Blood because they all had like vampires and stuff like that.
That's pretty cool.
And I had 0 people show up.
Yeah.
I put together like a video and everything, kind of like what I did with Blaze Blue.
That's actually really clever. I may steal that for next Halloween.
Yeah, it just
get ready, guys. We're gonna do
a,
Killer Instinct on Halloween next year.
Right, it just caught a total L though, and so I was just kind of bummed out about that, and I like my passion kind of fizzled from there. But seeing the response that everyone had for things that I was making, things that other people were doing for the T3 tournament was just so cool. It was such a community endeavor, and seeing it actually like pulled off and everything was incredible. So many good matches, so many good storylines and everything. Seeing Floki and Cold Fusion just play out of their minds to pull that off. Like, I'm a level with you. I was pulling for Cold Fusion. That is the Iza Broy. Like, I started out playing Izayoi because of him. And, like, Cold Fusion, like, just actual, like, genuinely shout outs to him because he taught, like, almost all of us, like, at least for me, he taught me most of what I know about Blaze Blue. Like, what I know about Izayoi. He wasn't trying to hoard the secrets of the character. Like, a lot of people, like, if you have this kind of tournament where it's kind of, like, gimmicky, going for, like, TikTok glory and stuff like that, you save that tech for nationals and stuff like that. That's the mindset that, like, I almost did it myself. I almost picked up Amane in secret so that I could just chip people to death and gimmick them out. But I'm like, he's too hard, and I don't have enough experience or time. But, like, Cold Fusion was teaching all of us. He was showing us, like, matchup things or setups that Izayoi could do that we were, like, then looking out for and learning against. Like, it's, like, I think that's one of the coolest things for this community is that we all learned a game that pretty much none of us had played before. And, like, I probably would have dropped Blaze Blue after, like, a week and gone back to Guilty Gear if I didn't have the tournament to motivate me, but it's now, like, one of my favorites. Like, there's so much cool stuff and all the characters are so tight. And it's one I want to keep playing.
Have you still played it at all? Have you played it since the tournament?
I haven't played any fighting games since the tournament, aside from just doing like some KOF matching. Yeah, I'm like, I need to reset my brain. Like, just don't worry about making videos for like a day or so. Don't worry about like playing anything. But like, now I want to get back on the grind for. So now I'm not as tied up on stuff with the KOF exhibition, like invitational that you're doing, which I'm so glad to be a part of. I'm gonna be playing that quite a bit more. Seeing if I want to mess around with I want to mess around with Garo too, just because I think it's such a beautiful game. Like the sprite work is incredible.
Retro will do a backflip if you tell him you want to play Garo.
Oh yes,
he will be
Retro,
very excited.
I want to play Garo. I will message you on Discord. But I also want to like keep learning Biken and Strive, keep playing her in Plus R. Learning her in Strive has been interesting because it's very different than what I am accustomed to.
Yeah,
like. It's not like so radically different, but just the slight differences are an adjustment for sure.
This is actually the first time I've actually tried biking for real.
Oh really?
Yeah, so I actually prefer her right now. I actually am digging her. Don't get me wrong. I definitely
no.
I'm more of I started off with Potemkin when the game came out, and then like I've kind of moved towards Eno, and I guess I consider myself an Eno fan now. But
nice.
Yeah, like I've liked everything I've seen from Biken.
I think that's the predominant opinion in all honesty. So I'm like,
the tether thing's
as long as
confusing
people
as shit,
like,
still, I'll be honest.
Yeah, it's cool. Like that's my thing. Like if she would have just lost like her various guard cancel options and her command dash with armor, like I would have been kind of bummed. But seeing like all the stuff that people are doing with tether and setups and combos, I'm like, she gained stuff. Like I'm cool. Like, it's different, but it's different because Strive is different. Like, that makes perfect sense. And seeing people so excited about a character that, like, Terry and Baiken are, like, neck and neck for probably, like, my favorite, because Terry got me into fighting games, Baiken and Guilty Gear kept me in fighting games. And those characters, like, mean a lot to me just for reasons outside of fighting games. Those reasons alone. Like, it's so seeing a lot of people excited and enjoying a character that I love, even if it's not exactly what I loved the character for previously, is just still such an exciting feeling.
Um,
So
Baiken was in Samurai Showdown as well, and now I'm realizing I would love to see Baiken in Soul Calibur. That's the next step. Baiken in Soul Calibur. That's the next place she needs to go.
Soul Calibur is one, like, it genuinely pains me that that game has delay-based netcode, because
It's so fun.
I watched
it's so
Soul
fun
Calibur,
to play. Soul
and I'm
Calibur
like,
is so fun to
this
play.
game, it looks incredible. Like, the gameplay just looks so fun. Like
once again,
like I
Bandai
said, I'm
Namco.
kind of more of a fan of, like, freeform movement, and like compared to Tekken, like, I see Soul Calibur's movement and like the 8-way run style. I'm like, that's my thing. That's it. That's
hopefully
the thing.
Soul Calibur 7 and Bandai Namco's learned from their lessons, and we won't have to worry about it anymore. That'd be.
I just worry, because, like,
there's no way.
Don't ask me for shit. Like, from Harada, I'm like, please, just.
This is also so, like,
we ask for functioning netcode. That's all.
We gotta, like, remember.
But also other stuff would be cool.
Harada's like a personality. We gotta remember that Harada is more of a personality than anything. But moving past that, usually is how I end the podcast. But I gotta, of course, ask, where can people find you? Like, if they wanted to follow aRLosandy, what social media platforms are they gonna follow you on, and where?
So TikTok and YouTube are probably gonna be, like, my main focuses. I hope to get into streaming sometime in the near future, because I want to. I have a project, like I said, where I'm talking about, like, single player content in fighting games and how it's kind of dog water, and which ones work and why they work, and which ones aren't and why that's a problem. So TikTok and YouTube are, like, the main avenues that I'll be going about that, with hopefully Twitch to document some of that process and have people watch it live. I also have Reddit, which I, like, comment just on random stuff. That's more just, like, if I want to interact with communities. I sometimes post the stuff that I make on there, just if it pertains to my interests. And Twitter, I tweet a fair amount and everything, so I'd love to have people coming and commenting and replying and stuff like that. Like, it'd be, like, I just love talking to people. If you have any of the same interests, whether it's music or freaking anime, fighting games, whatever the heck it is, I would love to see more people to talk to that way.
That's awesome. Fantastic. All right, so the last question, usually how I get this out of here, is what does the fighting game community mean to you?
Ooh. I think the fighting game community, to me, and I kind of touched on this earlier, it's just such a community of, like, it's just passion. Like, whether it's for creating an experience for people through, like, making a game, or TOing an event, like we see with people like Elven Shadow with Frosty Faustings recently, or Jabali with CEO, or Rick with Combo Breaker and soon to be Evo. Like, creating an experience through these games and through these events, through online stuff, through content, and doing it largely out of passion, because the money isn't always the greatest, or the exposure, the clout, or anything like that with fighting games isn't as high as others. Like, there's just so much passion for the community, and that means a lot to me, because it's easy in life to get stuck in a rut, I feel like, with things that are going on. So having something that you can turn to where you know people are going to have energy and interest and be willing to share that and create cool stuff, or just talk with you with the same energy. Like, can I just go on a little bit of a tangent with Clay1788? He's one of my favorite people in the FGC, because he is quite literally almost on the opposite side of, like, the world from a lot of us, stateside and everything. And he's in Australia, but we have all this shared passion, and we have all these discussions and just getting hype about character reveals and stuff like that, because we have that same passion and interest and everything. Like, that's such a special thing to me, and I don't want that to be, like, I try and keep focused on that kind of thing because I think it's easy to look at like Twitter arguments or like drama in the FGC and be like, man, this scene is just absolute, like, what is going on? But like, I look at a lot of the positive stuff where people just from across the world are interacting with content, putting out cool promotional stuff, or putting on like even just like replying and saying, hey, I really liked your video. Like, to me, like where I'm small especially, like that means the world. Like that I can make a difference and have an impact on someone. Like that's like just from one of my passions, that means so much. And so FGC is just so many people sharing that interest over one thing and always trying to grow together, and that's just special.
No, it's all, dude. That's beautifully said. I'm happy. Before we get out of here, dude, is there anything you want to tell the chat or anything you want to say?
Or
the world?
I would just say, play fighting games, man. They'll change your life if you let them. Like and I mean that like from the bottom of my heart. Like I've done a lot of things, and like I'm still young. Like I'm not a like wise person or anything like that. I have lots of experiences to go through, but like I can definitively point to fighting games as something that I got into and has impacted the way I look at problem solving, as I look at how to interact with people and make a difference in their lives, and how to be like a more positive person that's like looking to grow every day. Like fighting games, that they taught me that just straight up. So play fighting games.
Good stuff. All right, once again, Arlo, thank you so much for being on here with me today. I had a great time chatting with you. I hope you did too. But
for sure.
Yeah, we're gonna end the stream. Everyone, thank you for hanging out.
Don't forget to follow aRLo on all social media platforms that he mentioned. For those who don't know, I stream on Twitch every Sunday and Tuesday. Come and hang out. I also have an FGC TikTok account you totally should be following. If you liked the video today, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. My name is Phil, and of course, I'll talk to you guys soon.